Afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to another Propagandacast. Today with me, our host Imperial Dane, Master Propaganda, Hero of Psych, Defender of the Fatherland, off here to discuss, well, the Panther, specifically, tactics, how to get the most out of it, and strategies around it. Since, the Panther's actually good now. Maybe not super good, but it's definitely good. It's useful. It has, utility and strength, and there's might even some reasons, maybe consider rushing it out. So, basically, what is it that makes the Panther good now? Overall, it's actually kind of slightly more expensive for, the Wehrmacht, but, the thing that sort of makes it good is basically, it's got most health out of any medium tank, more or less. It has reasonably good armor. It can usually bounce shots from most other medium tanks consistently, and has a small chance of sort of bouncing shots from anti-tankers and tank destroyers that say if it stays at max range. So, it's somewhat survivable. Main gun-wise, it actually has, I think, roughly the same rate, if not actually a slightly higher rate of fire than the Panther 4, meaning it's got good DPS there. And what a lot of people tend to forget is that the Panthers always had good machine guns. There's the Commander from the Wehrmacht Panther now also has the same machine gun. So basically, it can perform well versus infantry and armor. Again, it's an investment that does require a bit. They're well handled. The Panther can actually now have an impact. Plus, with the high health, it can take up more damage. Even if RNG goes against you, you usually have a chance of keeping your Panther survivable and getting out of there. So, in this regard, the Panther's now actually a pretty solid weapons platform for supporting the Axis, whether they be Orbital Command and the Wehrmacht. Of course, with the Orbital Command Rescue, you have the advantage further of 2 levels of extra efficiency, which just basically makes it even more accurate and can allow it to move even more accurately, which is pretty good. Plus, you can actually get out faster than your Wehrmacht opponent. So there are a lot of things there to keep in mind. Of course, the Panther's not always going to be the best choice, or some of the better situations. For example, your opponents, for example, you're pushing for stuff like T-35s or other premium medium tanks. Going for a Panther is usually the best choice, since the Panther 4 usually will not perform well versus them, whereas the Panther usually will, due to its, again, high armor, higher penetration, and high health, plus, again, even slightly higher rate of fire. It is much more suited for taking on medium, premium tanks. They're premium medium tanks like, the T-35, the EC-8, Comets and so on there. It is much better suited for dealing with those than the Panzer 4. So there's certainly some very good things to keep in mind there. Also very important to keep in mind, though, you kind of need some support for it. It's a high priority target, it's a high value target, so obviously once it gets out, the opponent's going to put a lot of effort into trying destroying it. So overall, you generally want to increase chance of keeping it alive, which means infantry support, also preferably minesweeper support to avoid getting hit by mines, because the Panther's also high reliant on his speed to get into good situations, but also get out of bad situations fast. So if it suddenly gets hit by a mine, things can very quickly turn ugly for the Panther with a bit of bad luck or a really aggressive opponent. So those are some things to keep in mind there about the Panther. Also very important to keep in mind, while it has good frontal armor, its rear armor is incredibly weak. So if it gets flanked by, say, a bunch of medium tanks, it can very quickly get knocked out. Also, the Panthers, say, not amazingly good versus, say, a lot of medium tanks. They can, swarm it, take it down, particularly if they get behind it, sort of just fight the rear armor. That can very quickly take down a Panther if you're not careful. And also, if your opponent has a lot of tank destroyers, the Panther's not necessarily bad, but you're going to need more of them to have a remote chance, because it's just going to get focused down without being able to respond back. So there are some situations there where the Panther's not necessarily your most optimal choice, but there's certainly others where it's, either really good choice or even just a decent choice. Sort of keep those situations in mind. You can usually do well. Also, if your opponent is lining up a lot of anti-tank guns, really good tip, don't attack into the anti-tank guns. Certainly see some players do that, at which point, of course, the Panther gets shredded. Usually try and use the speed and all that, again, to flank and outmaneuver your opponent. And if you have to get aggressive, make sure to have in support to clear out any sort of things that might, actually threaten it. And of course, keep in mind, the closer you get to your opponent, the less effective the Panther's armor gets, since armor to an extent is also, benefits from range, because penetration drops off, but also gets better as you get closer. So again, distance basically means up close it's really more effective penetration. The longer where you are, the more it drops off in efficiency. So keep that in mind as well. Again, depending on the situation, you want to keep your Panther at range. Or again, if you're attacking, keep in mind you're trying to angle things so again rear armor doesn't get too exposed. Hell, German training for Panthers commanders and crews, they're basically involved, telling them always keep the front towards the enemy, and the same applies for the actual Panther in game. Always keep the front towards the enemy. Again, you have to charge in them, which sometimes you want to have. You generally want to do it well supported with infantry and other things to increase the chance of just not getting your focus down and murdered, because if you charge in a Panther on its own, it's going to get focused down and it's going to get murdered. So that's going to be a really important rule of thumb. And again, units with Panther Faust generally tend to be good things to support your Panther with, because again, that means you might have a chance of mobilizing a target, giving the Panther more time to just shoot at its leisure, dealing with the enemy target and all that. So I mean, any infantry support of course is good. Panther Faust, grenadiers and all that, but also you want infantry with assault rifles or something. Machine guns, basically assault infantry, quickly keep pace and keep firing on the move, and also very quickly clear out stuff like support weapons. Like, I mean, anti-tank and field guns will to an extent still be one of the bigger threats to your Panther, so having infantry quick clear out can be good. Though theoretically, if you outmaneuver a field gun with the Panther, you can actually use this as a machine gun, so quickly go through the cruisings again. The Panther machine guns are actually kind of good, and you can use this sort of efficiently fight infantry as well to an extent. I mean, they're probably some amongst the best tank machine guns in the game. Those are basically the Wehrmacht and the Oberkommander's Panthers, so used correctly they can also do a lot. They usually want to keep medium range from them, so you don't get too close in case something goes wrong. But like, even at medium range, the machine guns will be quite effective. Like, I don't know, just imagine you got like 3 LMG-42s firing at a target, and they'll probably be somewhere close to it. Maybe just 2 light machine guns in overall terms of firepower, but still, that's going to have an impact on a lot of infantry when well handled. And of course, Blitzkrieg, of course, is not bad always, can be used to quickly get out of a bad situation or quickly get into a good situation. In the case of the Oberkommando West, it also increases the rate of fire of the Panther. So, I mean, if say you have a veteran 3 Panther in a pop combat blitz, they can actually fire surprisingly fast. So, used correctly, you can actually have quite an impact on your opponent's tanks with it. So, I mean, used correctly, very, very nasty. But again, try to flank with your Panther, because I mean, sure, it might be great, head on, but it's even greater if you flank with it, because again, it's suddenly a very big, very hard target at a point your opponent really doesn't want it to be. So I mean, again, why it could theoretically throw it head on the enemy. Generally, you always want to hit it necessarily where it's going to hurt even more, and that's necessarily head on into the opponent. So if you can keep sort of those details in mind with the Panther, you generally do quite well. And overall, of course, try not to just charge it in again unless you absolutely have to. In many cases, it's actually better just let the target escape. Like say, oh, there's a tank with low health, but you might have to risk your Panther to take it out. Usually, you're actually better off pulling back the Panther, because long term, your Panther benefits a ton from veterancy. Again, veterancy 2, better armor, better tracking, meaning it turns faster, but also veterancy 3, it moves faster and shoots faster. Again, that's where the Panther really becomes amazing. And again, the Oberkommando West, more accuracy, just standing still and moving. So I mean, always keep that in mind. Like, your goal with a Panther should always long term be get it to veterancy 3, and if the Oberkommando above. Like, I really see a lot of players just pray away the Panthers at any opportunity they get, and that's really bad. A, because it's expensive, obviously, but also B, because it becomes even better with veterans. And again, that's really why you want the Panther. So, like, unless you absolutely are forced to, try not to throw away your Panther just to take out a tank, because usually your Panther's a lot more expensive than a tank anyway, so it's not going to be worth the risk in a lot of situations. So keep that in mind again with the Panther. One goal should always be get it to veterancy 3, and again, Oberkommando above. So I mean, that's sort of a lot of the things you can keep in mind about the Panther. If you want to rush for it against the Oberkommando, you're usually better off trying to. As the Wehrmacht, it's a lot more hazardous. You'll need doctrine that can act as a supporter, like our mobile defense, maybe a Puma, or say a doctrine with stormtroopers, or just going for solar packs, maybe some Panzer condition, stuff like that sort of set up there, because it's going to be pretty risky to play for a Panther, even now it's actually kind of good. But again, done correctly though, it can have quite an impact, and now rushing for a Panther is actually not necessarily a bad thing. It's risky, but once you get it out, then you handle it correctly, it can have quite an impact. So it is a possibility, but again, risky. And you're overall better off trying it as the Oberkommando, since its overall can get out faster, and thusly you're not going to hurt as badly from it as the Wehrmacht, where overall timing and resource costs are much more prohibitive for a Panther rush, though it is still possible. And of course, right here, that's a pretty bad angling. Again, there's actually a chance that anti-tank can hit the rear armor of the Panther, and there we go, they actually get it. So as a rule of thumb, always try to angle your tank's frontal armor versus the enemy firing positions. Always, again, you risk hits like that, so that's really important to keep in mind on Panther. Always keep the front towards the enemy. Always. Always. If you got the rear towards the enemy with your Panther, you're doing something wrong. That's just, a really good rule of thumb. If your Panther's rear is sticking out towards the enemy, you're doing something very wrong, in fact. So that's sort of it on the Panther, I think. I missed a few details, but right now I've got a really nasty headache, but I kind of want to get out of this video before I forgot about it. Sometimes, again, topics, and I forget them if I don't get them done. So I just want to get at least, some kind of, brief primer on the Panther and how to get most out, because it's actually, again, kind of good, if not straight up good. Maybe not super good, but it's definitely playable and can actually have some impact. I've actually seen Panthers hit Veteran 3. Hell, I've gotten a Panther to Veteran 3, and that's usually one of the bigger indicators that Panthers are actually going places. And again, there's an increase in players going for Panthers as well. So I mean, I definitely say that Panthers, you know, in a good spot. And actually, again, people might need a refresh in hard shooting. Again, remember, even shorter, it's not a Tiger Ace. Use its range if possible. Don't be afraid to use machine gun versus infantry, kind of good. Never expose the rear armor towards the enemy. If you're doing it, you're a PATS supported with the infantry properly. In particular, if you are going to attack, in particular, if you're going to go deep into the attack, it's not possible. Then make sure it is properly supported. Otherwise, try to flank with it. It's really nasty there. So there you go. Hope you enjoyed this video. Hope you learned something from it. If you did, subscribe, like, share, comment. If you like my videos, do consider donating or pledging on Patreon. This is Imperial Links. Cheers. Thank you for watching. Hope to see you all another time for another video. Cheers.